Communications director at the White House, who speaks for the White House, called me up to ask me about sourcing for a tweet that I had written about who he was having dinner with. And then from there, I turned it into an interview. But you know, this is someone who speaks for the White House, calling a reporter, having a clear, on the record, no ground rules conversation, just as if he were coming on your air and sitting in this chair and talking to you. So you know, we run into this every once in a while in journalism, where you know, sometimes we call it source remorse, where you know, people regret saying things, and you know, I think that's what he was saying with that tweet. Although in the previous tweet, he didn't seem to have much remorse. He just said, you know, he just joked that he used some off-color language. But you know, from a reporter's perspective, the important thing is, one, was it on the record? Were there any ground rules? It was on the record. No ground rules that he asked me to commit to. And then two, was it newsworthy? And if the most important communicator at the White House calls you and tells you he's going to fire all the communications staffers at the White House, tells you that he has brought in the FBI to investigate the chief of staff, tells you that the chief of staff is a paranoid schizophrenic, and says,
and that was putting it lightly.
That was putting it lightly.
Of the colorful ways.
That's just what we can say. And then you know, goes on a rant about the president's chief strategist. I would say that's all pretty newsworthy stuff. I'm in the business of reporting on the White House, explaining these people to the public. So this is just a straight how journalistic transactions work in Washington.
Do you have any regrets of how you did your reporting? Because he says it was a mistake in trusting you.
No, I mean, that would be as if I were sitting here and I got off air and said, wow, that was a real mistake in trusting Anna. I can't believe I sat there and answered her on the record questions. No, when the communications director of the White House calls a reporter and speaks to them on the record, there's no ambiguity about what's going on there.
Right. Right. So when he started letting all of this vulgar language fly, I just got to know, what was your gut reaction when you're hearing all this? Have you ever heard anything like this from a White House official before?
Honestly, no. I got off the phone and I needed to talk to someone about it, because it was frankly the most insane conversation I'd ever had with a government official. I downloaded the recording from my recorder into my computer, and I haven't actually told anyone that, but I named it "Insane Scaramucci Interview," because it was just so completely unlike any on-the-record conversation I'd had with a spokesman for the White House in 20 years of covering Washington, and so I knew how newsworthy it was. And so that's why I spent, you know, yesterday sort of going over the piece, going back to Scaramucci, talking to him about it, going to Steve Bannon, trying to get rights, and just, you know, putting the piece together and doing all the due diligence on it.